Welcome to another episode of Unmen, where we look to unlearn, unpack and unmask manhood and what that means to be a man. Today, I'm joined by my brother from another mother, Mr. Kekelingo, and I'm just going to give him the floor to introduce himself.
Yeah.
He's a man of many talents, so I don't want to...
I almost took out my sticks because I thought you meant the stage. Kekelingo, Gregory Mabusela, born and bred in Soweto, but professionally I'm known as Kekelingo. So Kekelingo is a musician, he's a music composer, he's a drummer, he's a theater,
he's an inventor.
He's an inventor. He's now a father, husband. Yo, a lot.
No, my brother, I'm glad you could join us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure.
So, Keke, paint for us, like a visual picture of yourself and your childhood. Mm-hmm. You grew up in a predominantly female-led household. So what did that do in terms of molding you to be the man that you are today? How did your interactions with the men in your neighborhood also influence you while you were a child?
Jesus. Really, so grew up in a, like you're saying, a home that was run by Abu Mama. Of course, my mother being, my grandmother and my mother being the chief, and then I had my sisters, and then I was the only boy at home. Mm-hmm. So everything I know is being navigated through the eye or the hands of Umama, and I remember at home, when you wake up, you wash, you take care of yourself, and if something was placed, you have to put it the way it was, and if you're going to use and then take it. So that's kind of been the navigation that I've always known, being soft. I'm very, very, very soft.
Yes.
Very, very, very soft.
I think it's so soft as such. It's being considerate, I think.
Yes. But I get in the outside, when you are soft like that, I'm a cheater, like, no, you're soft. You're not...
I'll call inconsiderate.
Why not that thing,
I'll call hardened.
No, you're not hardened. You're not hardened. So that's really been, that.
So in terms of them not being hardened, coming from an environment where softness is useful for you to navigate your home life, and then going out, just tell us about the kind of characters you'd meet and how that would it create any tensions or?
I think it would be confusing, because now here I am, a boy that grew up without a father, because now the father is supposed to tell you this is how it must be as a man. When you step out in society, this is how you chest out, and I didn't know all those things. All I knew was love. But I must say it was a bit confusing, because then I remember when some of the guy friends that I was playing with, if you don't act out that like a man like that, then you are considered to be ischuzana. So ischuzana is gay. Mm-hmm. So because you are not, like, what's wrong with you? Why salwani? Loana. I was even telling my brother that there was an incident where another boy hit me with a hanger. Mm-hmm. And because I'm not used to like the fighting thing, so ukshaile, fight back. Mm-hmm. I don't know that. Actually, I ran home. I ran home because I'm not used to that violence thing, So
Wow. And I think from some of the conversations that we've had off camera, yes, you were mentioning that I think we had a conversation about being a man and how it seems as though the world or patriarchy tries to tell us that being a man is somehow excludes women. But then both yourself and I were raised by single mothers.
Yes.
With the help of our grandmothers and our aunts.
Yes.
And there are many men who share similar stories. And then we go into a world that then says, no, only a male can teach a boy to be a man, or only a man can teach a boy. So how do you navigate those sort of stereotypes?
Yeah. And, you know what I mean? Like, yes, I grew up without a father, but also umntana is made by two people, a mother and ubaba. You know, so there has to be a balance. Because then kushukuthi you have both those elements, the mama elements and the baba elements.
Yes, nice.
I think it has definitely, those teachings from my mother have definitely made me a great human being, even apart from being just a man.
Yes.
But really a great human being that can relate to both men and women, because it was not a thing which daughter must be like this, or a woman must be like that. No, it was really like my mom taught me to love myself, to know that I am enough. I don't need to act out widely to show which I'm actually I'm a man.
Yes.
I'm what, you know. But like her and my grandmother, they taught me how to even communicate, even when I'm outside. Because we was not like a communicator as well. But they taught me how to stand for myself, even when I'm out there, to be like, says out to it's wrong. If you're gonna act out of your character, then it means then something is wrong. You have to be yourself all the time. Be yourself all the time. You are enough. You don't have to for you to be taking uti windota or whatever, you know. And I must say that has helped me to be the man that I am, the young man that I was, and to where I am now, you know. Because I think also it's a thing uti I was able to be considerate for umuntu, like for a woman, and to love and respect, and not only to look at them as an object uti they're the ones that do dishes, or it's umuntu that you just have sex with them. Yes. No, there's more to this person. Yes. So there was definitely that respect that was instilled from these amazing queens. So yeah.
So would you say then, having that kind of upbringing and that understanding that women are not objects and there's more to them.
Yeah.
But then when you again go out into
outside.
The world,
it's
a different experience. How did you experience then either having to educate, having to fight for, having to make it known that this is your stance on how you treat women, you know? You know, if a man loses their virginity late, they make fun of, or they're seen as that, like there's something wrong with them for loving themselves enough to want to choose as their first sexual partner. So can you tell us, did you ever come across those kind of barriers, you know, having this upbringing of understanding that women are not just one thing, or men are not just one thing, to a world that goes, you know, I mean, where, you know, people start, you know, predatory behavior at the age of 11. Now, as soon as I start developing breasts, I can't be sent to the shop anymore because I just get harassed. Because so tell us about those two very different sides of your reality.
And I must say that really saved me, because then at home, like I was saying, I was the only boy. So it's like I was treated like, sometimes I'd be like, but am I a girl? Like what's up? My sisters can get away with things. Baba Dala, and they get to come home late. Why is it you guys are protecting me so much? But now I get it, because then it prevents you from doing really stupid things, or things that will get you in trouble. For one, like you're saying, I remember my friends lost their virginity at a very, very young age. And for me, they looked at me like, Uti, like, what's wrong with you? Are you stubborn? Or and some of those friends of mine had kids quite earlier in their life. You know, so that discipline, those teachings have helped me to actually not find myself in an awkward position. You know, and also for me, I believe in, yes, I grew up without a mother and a father, but I really truly believe in that, the mother and the father being there for a child. Because we can't also, as as men, be going out and impregnate women and leave them, and leave that child with that mother to, it means we're not helping. We're just making this problem that we have in our society grow even more and more, and it becomes very hard to now navigate or deal with it, because now it becomes a generational curse.
Yes, and I think I'm glad you brought that up, because it's been one of the biggest things, or black men are the poster of that sort of behavior. And it confused me a lot, because my grandmother used to tell me stories about how in our cultures across Africa, you couldn't just go impregnate someone's daughter and get away with it.
No.
And so we can't say that those things come from our roots. We didn't have people in our culture that were just destitute, loose.
No.
Yes.
No.
Because everyone, it's why I think maybe I don't know, with colonialism and all these changes that came to Africa.
Yes.
Some things maybe were lost in translation, because in today's world, you impregnate someone's child, there's no consequence. There's none. There are guys who pride themselves that they've just...
I've slept with how many women?
Yes, where they're asked on camera how many kids do I have, and like those that I know of, it's now a joke. But the unfortunate thing is that it plays out in the real world, as in there are a lot of kids with no parents, some are abandoned, are orphaned, some end up in the streets. And what role do you think this patriarchy plays in maybe programming men to think that it's not their responsibility to... to be more
present, more involved, more engaged,
or more responsible with
their penis,
with your sperm, and and how
the
you
distribution thereof.
Actually, have pride for your
exactly.
Have pride.
Yes, because
I heard this term a few years ago, penis pride, for the first time, and I was like, why is this something that is not preached? But have pride in don't just put your penis in anything that moves.
Marakari, in our society, those are taught only for the girls.
Yes.
Take care of yourself, don't be all over. But then that's not the same sermon that's preached to the young man.
Yes.
So what your body is not worth taking care of.
No. It's tricky.
Yes.
And we need to have these conversations. Because like I'm saying, I feel like it's just getting worse, and sometimes it even becomes so hard to say, where do you even start to have this conversation? Because it's a mess, and without these teachings, this is why we have a lost generation. We have boys and men that are really losing their minds because they don't know themselves, they don't love themselves.
Yes.
And I think love is the most important one, because if you love yourself, you'll know you are enough. You don't need to harm the next person for you to feel complete. Because I get this that thing, if I own her, or what I'll do if I'm dating her, and if she's just impregnate her so that I can keep her, or she becomes a stat, like you say. So these women I've seen them navigate life also without partners. So I've seen them have kids, I've seen them struggle.
And when you say them, who are you referring to?
I'm talking about my sister, I'm talking about my mother that also had, partners that were not there, or fathers that were not there for us, and I've seen how hard that is. So for me as a young boy growing up, I was like, I don't want to put someone's daughter in that position, or have another generation raised without a father
or a mother,
or a mother, that is, and because then there's this void that one cannot explain when there's another parent missing in the picture.
Although I have to just put it on record that I think about that because I was raised by a single parent.
Sure.
And I think when my mother passed away, I think in 2000, I was 17 or 16, 17, 18 there. I'm not 100% sure. I had to go stay with my father. It was as though it's like now living in South Africa, speaking the languages you are familiar with. Like it's like going to Asia and having to learn Chinese and Japanese. It was foreign.
Wow.
It was foreign because also there was an immediate perception on his side that because I was raised mostly by women, I'm soft, I'm weak, you see. And on your side, growing up, did you experience the same perception that because you were raised by, your grandmother, your aunts, and that maybe weak, you are less of a man than someone who had like a father figure? And yes.
I don't know. Look, but I must say, when I look at my cousins that they had their fathers, even Tambi, the parents are not together, but the father is there. The father would be buying my cousins impahla and taking them out on holidays. So as a child growing up, you feel good. So if you have a father, your father will make sure you have got clothes, they take you on holidays. And now, if you don't have, I must say that there was a bit of a void to look at my cousins that had fathers like that. To be like, then clearly there's something that I'm missing.
I thought the same until I had it.
Until you lived with your dad.
Like, oh Lord,
and how was
it's a fire.
And how was that? And how was that?
It was the worst years of my life, if I was to be bluntly honest.
Wow.
Yeah, because I think there's this perception where I was now in a home where there's a mother and a father, because my father had remarried. But it was a very dictatorship type environment, where I was coming from an environment that it was always open dialogue, as in I had space to be honest.
Yes.
I had space to be vulnerable if I feel like my feelings are hurt. And yes, growing up as a young man, I also experienced the opposite side, where it was patriarchy in practice, where as a boy child, I was treated like a prince. You get bathed, get told to go play, and you come back and the food is cooked, you complain and say, this is not how I like it, it's redone, and all that stuff. And in hindsight, I know that my cousins who are girls had to be the ones who give me that red carpet treatment. Whereas you're saying in your home, it was different. It was equal. We take turns in doing things.
There's no uti, you are the boy, you're what, like everyone had to do the way umakulu and my mother would say, we're doing dishes, and that really molded me. Like, I'm really grateful, honestly, because I don't think I'd be this guy today, able to cook, able to take care of my child, able to clean my household. So that was quite key. But having say uti, I didn't have the father present, and I remember when I was 21, because of course the void is there. You can't just dismiss it. The void was definitely there. So, but who is this guy? I want to know that. Why is it that he wasn't present? And I remember at 21 when I was pushing my mother, I was like, I need to know who my father is. And I remember her saying, whatever it is you're looking for, you're not gonna find it.
Back.
And I didn't understand. Like, okay, what do you mean? And by the time, I remember I saved up a bit of money, took the train to go to Pretoria to see this father of mine. And when I got there, I didn't find the thing that I thought,
you're going to find.
I'm going to find probably Marangbo is going to hug me. Oh, my son. None of that happened, And instead, it seemed I was the one pushing the relationship. And whereas he was not there. He was not trying to put time, try to invest and get to know me. And that really disappointed me. But with that said, I am complete with being raised by the tribe of these incredible women. I'm complete, and I'm a father today. A son that was raised without a father, but today I'm a complete father, if I may say so, being raised by women.
A lot of the time, as we've been having conversations with our guests, it's a theme kind of keeps coming up that once someone meets their partner, the person that they want to build with,
Yeah.
there are certain things that they have to unlearn or relearn or unpack about what they thought showing up as a man would mean. So can you tell us about, when you met your wife, even the phase you were in? I know, unfortunately, at that time, you had lost both your mom and your sister, which brought in another dynamic into the relationship. Do you mind unpacking that? And the reason why I want to go on the point of showcasing your healing journey and healing with your partner is because a lot of the time men suffer in silence in relationships when they're heartbroken, but they feel like they don't have the space to say so, and a real opportunity to really grow the relationship and enrich it is missed a lot of the time. So can you just tell us about that, when you met your wife, the phase you were in, and kind of your relationship trajectory?
Just to that point, Uti, we deal with things in our corners. Yeah, like I think also being the only boy at home, you somehow take on a lot. You actually take on a lot, and you take on a lot in terms of the responsibilities, because you feel like there is this figure that is not there. So perhaps if I can be that figure, then provision can be there. Then there won't be lack.
Actually, tell us, because you actually did things. You invented a whole horn as a result. So tell us a little bit about that before we go into your relationship.
As a young boy, I mean, of course, it was Abo Mama. My grandmother was getting umdende, and then my mom was a cleaner. And of course, the salaries or that money is not enough to maintain a household like that. And we are young boys and girls growing up, but it's not enough. It's really, really not enough. And I remember when I was in primary, after school, I would go sell veggies with Bokonu Mama that was selling ama veggies at the train station. So I would literally, I asked her, I was like, yo, listen, I want work. This is primary. I mean,
how old are you at this point?
This is what, maybe like could be 13. 13, and I was like, yo, because I'm seeing Uti there's leg endly, because also my grandmother is diabetic. My grandmother has 10 children that are also not present like that. So these type of things, they would really give me anxiety as a young person growing up. To be like, if there was enough money, then I know I would get my grandmother all medication, get her all the food that's required for her to eat as diabetic, So I would go there, sell the veggies, and then this mother would, depending how we did that day, then Umama would pay me maybe like $40. And then that $40, my sister, Longim Landela, she was in high school. And Bengim Kerisa, so I was actually in Kerisa, my sister. And then she'd give me the $40 and then give me a couple of Amazambani. Then I take those. Then I make sure with Konishebo.
You're in primary school?
I was in primary school. Yeah. So that's what I do. And then over the weekends, for that extra money, I would then go and bask at Orlando. Outside. Basking is when you put a hat and you do an act and you hope that people will put in money. So what I'd do, I'd go at Nelson Mandela's house and bask outside there, because the tourists that come. Bask and do what, Keke? So, because now poverty is crazy, but you see also sometimes poverty you can have ideas and you're pushed, because there you feel there's a lurk, and if I just sit only, then we're gonna die in this hunger, in this poverty. So music kept me alive. So I invented a music instrument from a roll-on cologne container and a 2-liter bottle, and I put in the plastic, and when I play it, it produces like a trumpet, trombone sound.
That's insane, bruh. You don't understand.
That's poverty.
Innovation pusher.
Yes, innovation pusher. And really that really pushed me so much, and I suppose it pushed me so much that I end up believing in this gift that I have so much that this is where I am now. I've traveled the world, performed in all these great stages through this music. And so I would bask there and get a couple of foreign currencies. So what I'd do, I'd walk from Naledi, it's a distance, walk from Naledi to go to Orlando at Mandela's house. Then bask there, then get a few dollars and few, European currencies. Then I'd take those, walk back to Jabulani Mall, get there, Jabulani Mall, get to the foreign exchange place.
We as a lab, no, yeah,
and how old were you here? Yo,
guys, poverty. Poverty. Because then really, like I say, it's that thing, OT, that gap.
Where there wasn't a man or father figure, so
no.
you thought you had to fill that gap somehow.
There wasn't. And as a young boy, being the only one, I felt, OT, I must do something. I really, and somehow it has always been on my shoulders, and I've been doing this, providing thing for my family, that is my blood family, and to make sure everything is okay. Because imagine at that age, I'm carrying that anxiety to say, there's no father, because then you see at other households, there is a father that goes to work, with plastics and all of that. So for me, that was the picture. So after going back to the story, so after changing these foreign currencies, I'd go to a ShopRite. I remember I'd get milk, because my grandmother loved her tea with milk. Get milk, get bread, get all these other essentials. And it would fulfill me so much to walk back home holding those plastics, to say, this is what I've done, and here's food. And also to prove to them, Uti, this thing that I say, the gift that I say I have, I can provide. Like I can provide. So that's me.
Wait, let's go back then to the second half of the question that sparked that. Share with us your, how your relationship with your wife has made you confront your manhood, and also the time in which you met, where you were emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and how the relationship kind of shaped.
That's the beauty of growing up, because sometimes, most of the time, only when you grow up, you start to realize and look at things now holistically. I think when we met, I was really depressed. When my wife, my now wife, your colleague, your sister, your business partner, I was really depressed, and
you didn't even.
I didn't know that I was depressed. So I thought, for me, because sometimes we can confuse the two, a loss of losing a loved one, and being depressed. It's two different things. Loss and depression is. And I think, I think I'd taken on so much as a young person that I never had space to actually just breathe and be a normal kid that'll just be playing TV games like other kids, and don't have to stress about what shebo are you gonna eat. And you see your mother, you see your grandmother, they're stressed, But we met, and I was depressed, and I remember she was like, you have to talk. And I didn't understand this thing. What do you mean I have to talk? Like, share how you feel. I'm not used to that. I'm used to taking my things, going in my corner, and deal with them, and that's it.
And how would you usually deal then with the kind of loss that you've described, which was your mom and your sister back to back?
So I would walk. I love walking. So I would walk, and then I would have this conversation with self. I'd have this conversation with self. Like, there could be like another person that I feel like I'm talking to them, and I walk, and that's what I do. And that would really calm me down. And then I would sing inside as I'm walking, and I would really find so much comfort in that space. But I didn't know that if you're also not speaking out these feelings, you are also harming yourself, because then, as Pumi, you say you're dealing with them, but they actually are just chilling.
Yeah, and at times it's Puma in other ways that you are unaware of. Exactly.
And I remember she was like, but you have to speak out your feelings, my baby. And I remember it would frustrate me so much. Like, what's this thing of speaking out? What
and you're with a words person.
And I'm with the words person.
Yes.
And me, my love language is really, it's touch.
Yes.
Touch, and I remember then, this thing, speak. Then it helped me so much, because then when I started speaking and telling her my story, she was like, whoa, brother, you are taking on a lot. Then there's no space for you, because you, then that's when I realized, as a young man, I felt I had to make everyone happy, because there was so much poverty that, man, you think maybe if I can just, man, then everyone will be happy, you know. Can't you know, you actually have to love yourself, take care of yourself. There's nothing wrong with helping and taking care of other people, but most importantly, you have to fulfill yourself, you know. And I didn't know that I was taking on so much, and as a young black man, you know. And so, but she helped me to communicate and really speak my thoughts. And that has really helped me so much, and it also has helped our relationship. We're in a great space, because then now I don't fear to share with you, my baby. Maybe I'm stressed. That client didn't come up, or that tender, whatever, is not signed. You know what I mean? And so that has definitely helped me. That has made me a better human and a better partner.
It's in other relationships, for example, myself, if I was to tell you in terms of a timeline, there was a time where I was younger, and I was dominated by that patriarchy, and this is the role of a woman, this is the role of a man. Then when I then moved to stay with my mom, because during that period it was mostly my mom Dala and my gran. My mom was a single mother, so she needed help. And then there was unlearning that she had to do to me, and I had to do for myself, to then realize that actually she can't come home to clothes on the floor and the house is untidy. She's coming from work, because I could physically see how tired she was. Then I started to become more conscious of that. No, that wasn't the right way. Then she then taught me as well, I think, because part of that as well was boys don't cry, boys don't do this. So she then taught me to open up a bit more, because things would come in bursts of anger. You know, it's how as little boy or as a little boy I used to communicate. It's just explosions and then silence and then explosions. So she taught me that. But then
she taught you bursts of anger? Or?
No, she taught me more or less to, instead of exploding, let's communicate. Tell me what the problem is. I'll tell you my side. And at times, she told me that we don't agree, and it's okay.
Sure.
Yes.
Which is a concept I struggled with in our relationship for a very long time.
Wow.
I was the opposite. Quentin came with the ability to communicate, and I came with the ability to just shut down and not engage. And so we'd constantly butt heads, because I wasn't raised in a way that it's okay for us to disagree. Sorry, I just had to throw that in.
Because I think there was a belief, and I found it wasn't only with my wife, in previous relationships, where I watch on like some of the conversations we have here, where as a man you told, no, you need to open up and talk more. I've been in relationships where I would be told, like, this guy.
Oh my God.
Like, you share your feelings too much. You share how you feel too much. Have you ever experienced that?
It's the most weirdest thing ever. Because growing up, then when you become, because I'm a romantic.
Yes.
I'm such a romantic. And maybe also perhaps maybe we're knocking at the wrong doors.
That was a strange thing for me, because I'm thinking I'm doing what the new world says, and then the response, even from my wife when we started to date, was like, "You're too much." Yes, and so that's the thing where's the balance? If you shut down and try and deal with things, talk to me, and then if you talk,
then you are too much.
You are too much. Have you experienced that, or how has your experience been?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, it's weird, because then you are that soft. Because like I said, romantic guy. When you become like that, sometimes, especially like, nothing wrong with Kasi girls, but then it feels kind of weak. You're not, man, you're not the guy, Hawatia or something. But I don't understand that concept. This is me.
Yeah.
This is really me. Like, it's either you take me the way I am, or, but it'd be so confusing because then now must I be violent or even like some of my past relationships, like if you didn't hit them, then you're not. Yeah. Untanned.
You're just gonna watch me be loose.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah.
So which is a weird concept for me, to be like violent or to be like that.
But isn't it a product of the conditioning? I mean, if you grew up watching your parents and you believe your parents loved each other and maybe they're even still together today, but they used to blixem each other, you'd be like, if my man's not blixeming me,
then
or
it's
if
not
we're
enough.
not
Yeah, of course.
fighting,
but yeah,
our relationship is there's something that's not there.
I definitely think the environment does play a big role. So if it was a household of violence, then it would be violence. Violence would be the only language you understand. And if it was a household of love and being compassionate, that's what you understand. And then I suppose then it's the opposite meeting, and then it's weird because you're soft, and then you're not. She's used to violence. Then it becomes a problem.
Yeah, no, this we live in a complicated world. But
being a man, yeah.
So can you talk to us? You know, a lot of your body of work speaks around the effects of toxic masculinity, whether it's songs like Umsebenzi Wendoda with the Muffins, or Senzeni Na in your own solo career.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about why you felt it is important to address toxic masculinity in your work, and what are the things you personally had to unlearn to be able to put this on public platforms? Because I know that for you, when you put out that work, there's an amount of risk that you're taking on.
Yeah.
You know that there's going to be a backlash.
Yes.
When you're saying malumia luma type of thing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
can you talk to us about the motivation around using your art to deal with toxic masculinity?
So the first time experiencing violence or GBV was when I could have been 7 years old, and my mother had a friend, and she stayed in Hillbrow, in the flats there. And of course, they were drinking, chilling, and I remember things just shifted when the partner to my mom's friend started beating umuntu wakhe, and then my mom also was there trying to stop, and then started Abashaya boy too, and then next thing there was a knife. And I remember when he took out a knife, because I'm young and he's a tall man. I remember holding his pants and like trying to, so that was my first glimpse of violence. And I remember running at some point to a tunnel somewhere there to hide, and because I thought maybe he's killed them or whatever, So that was the first time I really experienced violence like that, and I was like, yo, I'll never ever lay a hand on umuntu mama or hurt the next person like that. And being born in Soweto, some of these things are normalized, that a man would beat up the woman and nothing will happen, and I've always felt it's wrong, and I felt that I had to speak out on it, because some of these conversations become very weird, especially with straight men or amachita, because then it feels like you're either making yourself better, or they can even like outcast you, because then you're better. Sometimes, and just to show uti, and that language is foreign to me. I don't. Loving someone, it doesn't mean you have to harm them. You can love umuntu in many other forms, but not to hit them. And I felt it was very important for me to have that message in my work, And I mean, I remember also I was telling Q that as a young man, I thought if you hold a girl's hand, if you like, so in Soweto there's this thing, in school, if you like a girl, you wait for them, and then you have to walk them home, but then you hold their hand in a way,
you grab it
like you grabbing it, and somehow they're in pain, you know, and some of those things were
not consensual.
No, and that thing was normalized. She's gonna be in pain and she's like crying, bro, like you're hating me, and for you to like upcall me, you know, and some of those things were normalized, and I am not for that. I remember when at that time, a couple of years, I stopped a young boy that was doing exactly that, to just show you it's in this small
program,
and it's programmed, and it's normal because you've seen it from your brother, you've seen it from your uncle do it. It's okay to just grab that hand and until she says yes, you know, and yeah. So I felt with the platform that I have, which is music, I had to bring in that message, you know, because it's not enough. We don't have platforms like that preach to the young boy, you know.
And what has been then the backlash, but also the positive feedback to ingoma like umsebenzi wedoda, umalumi yaluma, that kind of thing?
It's two-way, but also I think I appreciate the positivity that has come out of it, to hear some of the men come up to say, yo, that song changed my perspective because I was not present in my child's life. And after hearing that song, and I actually thought of what my mother was actually doing, being there without a father, you know, doing the most, being a mother and a father. That song really, it made me respect women. It made me respect my mother, and I started thinking about it, and I was like, yo, I want to treat my partner right, and I'm gonna be there, and yeah, that's kind of like the positivity that we've gotten. Especially when I like it when men come up and speak out, because we don't speak. We don't speak out like that. So when men come up like that, then I feel like then our work is done. It might not be thousands of them, but that couple that you get, then you've really made an impact. Yeah.
I mean, you're reminding me now, I did an episode with my mother for Conversations with a Live Activist about sex. And we thought that the people would be reaching our women, or we thought the people were talking to our women. And there were so many comments from men saying, thank you so much. We as men don't even have platforms to talk about whatever traumatic sexual experiences that we have, how to love ourselves and our bodies in relation. We don't have that. So thank you as umama, allowing us to be able to share the space and give me the tools to talk to my daughter about sex. So I know exactly what you mean when it almost is a bit sweeter when it's coming from an audience that doesn't usually speak or engage.
Like that. So we need more platforms like that, or we need more messaging like that, so that we can have more men speak out freely, and then, in particular to the young boy, so that then it changes, because now it's a mess.
Yes, and I think social media as well needs to come on board. I think Black Twitter especially. You know, that word black, for me, sometimes it pains me, you know, because it's associated with so much bad. Black Twitter, when I say Black Twitter to you, you don't think great things. It's just dragging people down. When I say to you blacklisted, you don't think it's a list of good things. No, it's so I think that's the thing where right now, you know, we're talking about men and unmanning, and it goes across black, white, yellow, whatever you are. But I think as Black people, there's a responsibility that I think we need to take for our actions.
Most
because
definitely,
other races are not behaving. There isn't a white Twitter that just drags white people. If there is, someone must hashtag me sometime so I can see it. But there isn't that. But
no, there isn't.
We're so quick to drag Black people. Black men are so quick to be labeled as this animal. And the challenging thing is that doesn't build. So I'm glad you've said that there are Black men like yourself and others out there where you're trying to build. You're trying to create for the better. It's not to say you're perfect.
No. But to change that narrative,
yes,
that really
but
bad
to change
narrative,
that narrative. Now, someone, you say one thing out of turn or by mistake, and all of a sudden they want to wipe out your entire good, and just identify you by that one thing, and
that one error.
We just need to change that as a people. I'm not just saying women, I'm just saying
of
everybody.
Course, as a people. Because because I feel like if we could have conversations like that, I think would really be, our societies and the world would be a better place, because then we'll be working together and getting both views, you know, and making them one. And
no, to wrap up, you know, if you were to go back in time, you know, do some time traveling back to that young man who was doing you call it what, busking, and just give him some advice to just help him along the way, what would that be?
I'd say to him that he's enough, or he was enough, because I suppose he didn't know that he was enough. He felt he had to do more to be seen, and looking for a lot of validation. If I was told that age, yo, bruh, you are enough as you are. You don't need any addition. You don't need anything. I think that's definitely what I'd tell that young boy.
I think on that note, that is enough for today. We thank you for your time, my brother.
Thank you so much
really
for inviting me.
Appreciate it. And we're going to go to Shannon, who's going to break down the conversation that we've been having from a more
life coachy
way, where maybe from this she can give people who are watching some tools. People who've been through something similar to what we've been talking about, some tools to navigate and to help them along the way. So Shannon, the floor is yours.
It's one of the biggest misconceptions that we have, is that men, masculine, women, feminine, you know, and to make that distinction that clearly has created the conditions for a lot of trauma, and has created a conditions that hold us back from being our full selves. So in truth, masculinity and femininity exists in all of us. Yes, in varying degrees, but it exists in all of us. And what is really important is to understand the distinction between mature masculine and immature masculine, mature feminine and immature feminine. Therein lies a really important thing for us to discuss, because when we are locked in roles of immature masculine or immature feminine, we not only hold ourselves back from maturing, but we also can act out in ways that causes pain for others. Let's first make a distinction between the mature masculine and mature feminine, and then we'll talk about their immature counterparts. So the mature masculine, in its full power, you would associate with characteristics like action-oriented, usually structured, logical, able to create change. So the mature masculine is a real activist who would use their power for good to protect the vulnerable. The mature feminine really comes from a place of love, empathy, compassion, creativity, flow, surrender. But there is also a tapping into the collective and a deeper wisdom. And so whereas the feminine part of ourselves is there to guide us in terms of our intuition and wisdom, the masculine part of ourselves is there to action against what is shared from the feminine, if that makes sense. Now, it's very important that we recognize that this happens within all of us. This is not for the women to have the guidance and then to tell the men what to do. It is for within all of us. We all have a sense of intuition. We all have a sense of empathy and compassion. We can tap into what's happening in any situation, and we can then make decisions about what to do about it, and then move into our more masculine selves in order to action what needs to happen in that moment. Now, when we are in our immature selves, you can imagine that we don't have access to the full power of both those sides. So when you are in your immature feminine self, you don't have access to the power of an integrated mature feminine. So you could be stuck in fear, in complete inaction. You could even be sort of really struggling to tap into your intuition or not trusting that. When you are stuck in your immature masculine, it can go one of both ways. You can either, just like in the feminine, it can go one of both ways. In the masculine, you can either be overly responsible, so now you've taken action on your shoulders, you've been overly responsible to the point where you can be a workaholic, you can really push yourself into a place where it is sort of very difficult to come back from, because you are taking so much on yourself that you don't ask others to also take on some responsibility. I would rather invite the conversation for individuality and understanding people as unique beings that have had their own life experience, and understanding what's happening for that individual, rather than judging based on men and women.